Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me here on this video where I discuss Q4 and how that went from a reselling standpoint. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to everybody who's joined already. I know this is a brand new channel. This is only the second video, but coming from a running channel that has gotten basically zero traction over the last several years, admittedly not with a whole lot of effort, but no, it's just kind of cool. It's cool to see people taking interest in this, and yeah, it's cool. So thank you for being here, and let's get into some Q4 numbers. So just first of all, again, I've been reselling for a couple of years now, but really only started to kind of take it seriously in 2022, and then did a very big shift in what my bulk inventory was in the second half of 2022 and started focusing on clothing. Prior to that, it was mostly video games and just, some random odds and ends. So I don't really have an idea of well, I mean, I do, I could figure it all out, but when I go over my sales here and when I'm talking about this, just know that some of these items that I have sold are on a commission or on consignment rather, for some friends. So I'm doing it for a commission, or like, with some of these video game sales, like I'm just keeping something out of the lot that, I want in my own collection for selling this stuff off. So when we see these total numbers, I wouldn't be calculating my net profits off of these total numbers, but in any case, it's cool just to see what the sales are. All right, a little bit of a Q4 overview. I've got some notes just right down here, so don't mind me if I'm looking down. Sales in Q4. This is just on eBay. This first section of the video, I'm just going to be talking about eBay. I've also done some selling on Poshmark. We'll get to that. On eBay, Q4 was a sales total of $9,106.81. So an over $100 per day in sales average for those 90 days in Q4. And that's up 150% from Q3, and I sold 192 items. So I mean, that's pretty good. So that's an average sales price, $47.43, and actually had 8 repeat buyers during that period of time, out of the 160 total buyers. So that $9,106 to me, like, I know that I watch some channels where, yeah, you're doing that in a week or two, but for me, that's pretty huge. Now, a good chunk of that is video games. In fact, video games was my #1 category for Q4, and that sold $3,591. That was almost 40% of the entire sales. And again, some of that's some big ticket retro video game items, couple $100 games and things like that, that I'm selling for a buddy of mine that I'm working out a commission deal. So that was a big one. But really, the big surprise for me was that my #2 category for Q4 on eBay was actually men's shirts. So I sold $1,200 worth of men's shirts on eBay in Q4, which doesn't even make sense to me, but that was like 13% of my total sales. And then we get into women's coats, jackets, vests, men's coats, jacket, vests, and then video game consoles just grabbed that 5th spot with a few $100s in sales. That's my only category in the top of the list that was actually down from previous quarter. Now I did, like I say, sell quite a few video game consoles and games for the most part. And then when I switched to clothing and making that my focus, obviously that means that the video game stuff's going to take a little bit of a hit, except for the fact that I did list a bunch of new items for that friend of mine who was selling some pretty high-end stuff and collectible stuff. So yeah, just real quick then, looking at that $3,947 in games and consoles, that was 43.4% of all my sales in Q4. And then $3,612 in clothing. So that was 40% of my sales in Q4. So that means everything else, which I don't have a ton of other stuff, but I've got some DVDs, I've got some various knickknacks, I've got some just other stuff. Only made up 1/6, 16.6% of my sale value in Q4. So it was all clothing and all video games and consoles, except for 16% was the rest of it. So that's pretty cool. That's actually really cool. Now, I did clear out a lot of stuff in Q4, and I think one of the main reasons why t-shirts was so high, the men's t-shirts, is because I did have a lot of stuff that I just was holding on to for a long time, which probably could have held on to and they would have sold again in the spring or summer, but I really just wanted to make the space because I'm doing all of this out of my home, and I've got a building where I keep some stuff as well, but you know, I don't want to be overwhelmed with t-shirts, which aren't high value items. So I did put lots of sales on and accept lots of offers, and some of those repeat buyers that I had just bought multiple t-shirts. So let's see here. Mostly am promoting my items. As a general rule of thumb, I am promoting just about everything at 5% on eBay. And I know some people don't promote their listings. Some people like to do 2%, 3%. I think 5% right down the middle is fine with me. I'm okay with that. That's not too much fees because, like, I know what my fees are essentially going to be, and I just work that into my price or what I think my price can be. And if there's not enough margin there, then I simply don't sell that item. I don't pick it up to sell it. So I'm trying to focus on high enough profit items that I'm at least going to make $10 or $15 profit, for my clothing and things like that, which at an average sales price of $47. Now that does have some of those higher end video games in there, but if I can keep that average sales price even above like $30, I'm guaranteed going to make $10, $15 profit on every clothing item, even promoting at 5%, paying those extra few fees and things. So that's kind of my business model is I'm trying to focus now on picking up clothing that's going to move within 90 days and get me at least that $10 to $15 profit margin, or that I know might sit for a while but it has some good value. Like I'm not going to pass something up that's worth a couple $100 just because I might have to sit on it for 6 months. Like I'm still going to pick that up and I'll find a place to put it. So that's really about the eBay thing. It was insane to me that it was over 9,000. It was over $100 a day average sales per day in Q4. It was a flurry, and it was even a flurry like up past the point where people would be able to get something for Christmas. Like I was making sales on Christmas Day. Like it was nuts, but not complaining. So just real quickly as well, I'll just mention that on Facebook Marketplace, I do sell the occasional item locally just through Facebook Marketplace. I'm estimating, because I know we sold our treadmill, which was ours that we just not using anymore, sold that for $150 and sold a few other items. I'm guessing I probably sold about $400 in Q4. But without looking everything up and getting down to the dollars and cents. So it's not a lot of money, but still made a little bit of extra money that was just good cash flow. And then, so we get to Poshmark. So again, when I started kind of focusing on clothing, well, that led me down the rabbit hole of looking up, how to sell clothing. What's the best place to sell clothing? Learning about Poshmark, and then Poshmark Canada, of course, because that's where I am. So did a lot of research, watched a lot of videos, and all the rest. I'll get into that some other time, but I joined Poshmark on October 11th. So I'm filming this, it's January 2nd, so I haven't even been on Poshmark for 3 months yet. It's only been, I didn't get the full Q4 on Poshmark, and it was a little while before I made my first sale, maybe like a week. So we'll say like 2.5 months maybe on Poshmark. And I did sell 32 items in that period of time. So I'm perfectly happy with that. And I did clear out a couple of like lower end things that had been sitting on for a while that I just took an offer or just kind of cleared it out, got my money back basically. But for the most part, I'm doing pretty well on Poshmark. Like out of those 32 items, my total earnings is $745.32. So that means my earnings after Poshmark takes their 20% fee, and of course shipping's covered by the buyer. I don't have to worry about paying for shipping. I just print the label. So after Poshmark takes its fees, I am averaging an earnings of $23.29 per item. Well, my average clothing cost, buy cost, is about $6 if I factor in all types of different clothing and and then the occasional like deal that I'll get. It's typically around a $6 buy cost. So that means I'm multiplying my average buy cost by $3.88, or not $3.88, but 3.88 times. So yeah, clearing $23.29, and then I back out my $6 buy cost, that's essentially a $17.29 profit on every single item. Well, that's right where I want to be. That's awesome. And that average is going to go up because I've got some of those lower stuff cleared out, and I've been making better decisions and better pickups during Q4 as well, because obviously you just get better at things as you go, right? And you learn what works and you learn what doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, basically $10,000 worth of sales in Q4. And if I back out all that video game stuff that I'm selling for somebody else that I'm taking a commission of, and we just forget about that portion of it, then it's still like $6,000 in sales over the last 3 months. And you know, my buy cost is pretty low. My profit margin is pretty high on a lot of what I'm picking up. So especially on clothing, like my clothing margin is, you know, 60-70% in most cases. So yeah, I'm very happy with where things are going, and we've got some good goals for 2023 on what we want to do with various kind of revenue streams and incomes and stuff. And again, I just do this part-time because I do have a full-time day job and I work from home. So it's great because I can simultaneously do this. This is my office. I'm sitting here right in front of my work laptop filming this video. So it's cool that I can do this and also have, you know, my little side hustles just off to the side, literally off to the side of me. So very excited for Q4. It was a overwhelming success. It was pretty crazy, like taking a tote of stuff to the post office just about every day. I've got another tote that's just about filled up here that's got to go once it opens back up tomorrow at the post office. And yeah, I'm just really excited about the clothing. That's just insane to me. I don't know why I was never doing this, but here we are. So if you have any questions about anything that I talked about through this video, and I will have put up some little, you know, snapshots and things like that. But if you have any questions about anything I talked about here today, please feel free to ask it in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer you. I'm still learning. I'm still basically a noob at this, but I'm a successful noob so far. So here's hoping it stays that way. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks again to everybody who has joined this new channel so quickly. Really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one, guys. Peace.